Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, scholars and dignitaries, welcome to another episode. Welcome to my world. So I get it. Everyone thought this was a joke. After all, we already have 5 branches of the military: the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard, and there's 2 distinct facts. First, the American military is one of the largest, finest, and best equipped militaries in the world, capable of mobilizing and deployment at a moment's notice, and with the ability of industry to quickly modify to support additional resources as needed in country. And second, there is already a host of other military groups we have that we don't know anything about: the SEALs, the Delta Force, the Green Berets, the Rangers, military intelligence, the National Guard, the reserves, and other special tactics and special force teams, including some that are deep and dark and off the books. Let us not forget the super secret Men in Black team. I wonder what their function is. And note that these men don't present with names, they present with numbers, like 9. So it came as a real surprise to me and to all of us when President Donald Trump said that out of the clear blue sky one day, or should I say, out of the deep recesses of space, that we needed a Space Force branch of the military. And he actually planned it early in his presidency. I mean, people were saying that the president watched too much Star Trek or is starting an intergalactic federation of planets or something. But on Friday, December 20th, 2020, at the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, President Donald Trump signed the National Defense Authorization Act, and this act established the U.S. Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces. And then Trump appointed General Jay Raymond to be the first chief of space operations, the senior military member of the new branch, and adding him onto the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And Trump made it clear that this was an equal and powerful position. I mean, he made sure that they all knew that this new branch was equal to all the others. That should tell us something. Well, at the time, President Trump said, quote, "We are at the dawn of a new era for our nation's armed forces. The establishment of the U.S. Space Force is a strategic imperative for our nation." Now, note that he used the word imperative. That word was selected and has a special meaning. It means vitally important, crucial, critical, of absolute binding authority. In other words, not to be taken lightly. He said that space has become important to our way of life, our economy, and our national security, and that the Space Force will help the U.S. prepare itself against threats in a, quote, evolving space environment. And other military officials echoed his sentiments. They said that the U.S. Space Force is the necessary and essential step our nation will take to defend our national interests in space today and into the future. But they gave certain indicators of other concerns. They said it wouldn't just be a support for other operations, but a war-fighting domain in and of itself. They said they fear that adversaries are also building and deploying systems to threaten us, so we can no longer take space for granted and must prepare. And that this will now singularly focus on protecting our U.S. national interest and security in space and meet, and I do want to stress here, undefined, new strategic challenges. And they said that unlike the other services, the duties of the Space Force will be wide-ranging. Again, that's code for you don't need to know the details. You see, this is government speak. I am not saying that they're pulling the wool over our eyes. I'm saying that there are deep, deep secrets that they simply aren't revealing, and probably rightly so. Anyway, a lot of people laughed when they heard this. I even questioned it before I thought about it. Even President Biden's press secretary mocked it after he assumed office.
Ask whether the president has made a decision on keeping the scope of Space Force.
Wow, Space Force. It's the plane of today. It is an interesting question. I am happy to check with our Space Force point of contact. I'm not sure who that is. I will find out and see if we have any update on that.
So, anyway, we went through this once before. In March of 1983, President Ronald Reagan started the Strategic Defense Initiative, affectionately called the Star Wars program. Reagan said that he turned to the scientific community to give us the means of rendering nuclear weapons impotent and obsolete, using a space based anti ballistic missile program that would use laser beams designed to shoot down nuclear missiles in space. And everyone laughed. There was no way lasers or computers could be developed at the level of sophistication or power, as he said, at least that's what people thought. And so now we have a new chapter for our military defense, a new Star Wars program, a space force, although defensive in nature. So, what's the concern? After all, is this really as serious as the other branches of government, or is this just a whimsical token of a science fiction wannabe left over from the 60s? Well, the truth just might surprise you. There are actually three reasons why the Space Force is not just needed, but now may be the most important branch of government. First, as stated, while the U.S. does not have any true enemies at this time who would be willing to use nuclear weapons against us, the truth is that this could change at any point. And for national security, yes, a Space Force shield wouldn't just be an effective defensive weapon, it may be the most effective against ICBMs launched against this country. And think about it, a lot of third world countries are now developing nuclear capabilities and even long range ICBMs. Now, this is a very real safety concern. So, for that reason alone, I would say yes, Space Force is justified. But there are two other, even more important reasons that have been proposed. Remember, first, the president has been advised by the intelligence community on all the findings that he needs to develop a plan for the security of the United States, that is, all the information he's entitled to at his level of security clearance. So, the second reason that's been postulated is that we need it for protection against aliens. And I don't mean undocumented illegals from third world nations. Okay, here is where it gets interesting. Officials have leaked that there are more than terrestrials inhabiting the Earth. In fact, they say there are four distinct races of extraterrestrials living on Earth, and in fact, there may be as many as 57 different races of extraterrestrials. These four primary species are known as the Orions, Pleiadians, Greys, and Reptilians, and at least one, if not more, of these races is vying for control of the Earth. To take it a step further, in May of 2001, at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., the Disclosure Project brought together several hundred witnesses, pilots, engineers, scientists, and former military personnel who confirmed the presence of UFOs and E.T.s on Earth. One of those witnesses, Sergeant Clifford Stone, verified that he himself was aware of some 57 different alien races living here on Earth. Sergeant Stone was part of a discreet Black Ops UFO recovery unit and had access to top secret information and events. So, here's where it gets interesting. At least one of these races is aggressive and not friendly to the human race, and there may be others as well. Sources have stated that there has been more than one battle with the military and these visitors from other worlds. If this is true, then what is not being said is that we really need the Space Force for protection from other worlds, to observe and defend, and not from our own world. In other words, in the event there really was a war of the worlds, right now we would be hopelessly at a disadvantage. We need a specialized unit prepared to defend and fight against a whole different category of foe. The third reason we need a Space Force is even more serious. For years, scientists have been deliberating about an unknown variable in our galaxy, what they call a 10th planet, or Planet X. They haven't been able to locate it as yet, but something is throwing the balance of the galaxy off. Some form of magnetic or gravitational force of undetermined origin is affecting the gravity and national orbit of our planets. There's another name that's been given to Planet X, Nibiru. And actually, there's been another name, Wormwood. And there's actually been a prophecy about it, the Wormwood Prophecy. And some speculate that this huge planet, or whatever, is headed right towards us and will be here in a matter of years. To make matters even worse, though, Wormwood is only one of over 20,000 known near Earth asteroids, over 100 short period near Earth comets, and a number of solar orbiting meteorites close enough to strike the Earth. In fact, one asteroid that was only discovered at the last moment, 2020 GQ, just made the closest known flyby to Earth without hitting our planet on Sunday, August 16th, 2020. That asteroid missed Earth by only 1,830 miles. Now, finally, just remember that the Earth was hit by a meteor so big that it caused a mass extinction and destroyed the dinosaurs. Since then, there have been 5 other major strikes, and every year the Earth gets hit 5 to 10 times by meteorites, and usually no one notices. But many people do remember that in 2018, one did explode 20 miles over the Earth with a force of 13 Hiroshima atomic bombs. Had that meteor struck a largely populated city, the total devastation would be unimaginable. So, probably the greatest reason yet for Trump's Space Force is for surveillance and preparation for all these unknown space meteors that can come out of nowhere with only a moment's notice, and to prepare an action plan to stop them before they do hit and do irreversible damage on Earth. Again, some would say that this is only a fantasy and that we could never develop a system of the magnitude we need for this, but again, we'll never know unless we try. And there's no better time to start than now. Who would have thought that someday in the future or even the near future, one can say, "Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for your Space Force program. You actually saved the world." Hey, be safe, be well, and may God bless our Space Force, and may God bless you.